Every morning before I go to school, I make myself a smoothie. It has banana, apple. Oh, wait, this is a tomato. Here it is. So it has banana, apple, yogurt, and oatmeal. I put in the whole banana, only half the apple, about 100 milliliters of yogurt, and 3 spoonfuls of oatmeal. That's about 30 grams in total. Now we blend it together, and at the end, we have one delicious, healthy smoothie to start the day. Mmm, yummy.
Normally, I make this smoothie only for myself. But let's imagine one day I want to share the smoothie with my family and I want to make 4 of them. Let's think about that. For one smoothie, I need half an apple and I need 1 banana. The proportion of apples to bananas that I need is 0.5 to 1. So in order to make 4 smoothies, how many do I need of each, apples and bananas? If we multiply both sides, like top and bottom, by 4, we get that I'm going to need 2 apples and 4 bananas. And as you can see, the ratio of apples to bananas is the same if I make 1 smoothie or if I make 4 smoothies. Let's compare now oatmeal to yogurt. So I know that to make 1 smoothie, I'm going to need 30 grams of oatmeal and 100 milliliters of yogurt. Now, if I'm going to make 2 smoothies, how much oatmeal and how much yogurt do I need? So we multiply both sides by 2, then we will get, you guessed it, 60 grams of oatmeal to 200 milliliters of yogurt. So far, so good. Now, let's think about what we have here, and let's analyze this for a second. I want to draw your attention to an interesting relationship that we have when we have these type of proportional relationships. So, look at these 2 numbers. Now look at these 2 numbers. What do you see there? What pattern can you see? Very interesting, right? Look at this. Let's compare first these 2 numbers. So we have 0.5 times 4. Now, let's shift our attention to these 2 numbers. And let's say we have 1 times 2. Are you seeing it now? We have that 1 times 2 is the same as 0.5 times 4. Very interesting. Do we have the same in this second example? Let's find out. It would mean that these 2 numbers, so 30 times 100 times 200, should be equal to these 2 numbers. Yes? 100 times 60. And is it correct? In fact, it is. So 30 times 200 is the same as 100 times 60. In fact, this relationship that we have here, this relationship that we find by doing this process of cross multiplying, is very important when you're trying to solve proportions. It's so important that it's useful to generalize it. And by generalizing it, I mean changing the numbers to variables so that we can apply it in any situation. So let's go ahead and generalize this equation. In order to generalize it, let's change the numbers to variables. Let's start with a ratio A over B. And let's say that we have an equivalent ratio next to it with the number C over D. So this would mean that the ratio between A and B is the same as the ratio between C and D. Now, if this is true, like for example in this case, then the same relationship that we had before with cross multiplication holds. So we would get that A times D is equal to B times C. So in other words, if we have a proportional relationship of this form, we can have the generalized equation AD equals BC. Very interesting. But mister, you may ask, why is this useful? When are we ever going to use this? Aha, that's a very interesting question, and in fact, we use this a lot in many different problems. Let me show you one example. Let's say I have this whole bag of oatmeal, and it has 480 grams of oatmeal. And I want to save this oatmeal to use it only to make smoothies. I have to ask myself, if I'm going to use this to make smoothies, how much yogurt do I need? I know that for every 30 grams of oatmeal, I use 100 milliliters of yogurt. And I also know that this jar has 480 grams of oatmeal. I want to find out how many milliliters of yogurt do I need. So we know that this proportion should be the same as this proportion. And because of that, we know that the rules of cross multiplication apply. So this means that 30 times x will be equal to 100 times 480 because of this formula that we just discovered before. Let's move on with this equation. We can multiply both sides, so we have 30x is equal to 4,800, and this is a simple one-step equation that we all know how to solve. If we divide both sides by 30, we get that x equals 1,600 milliliters, and this is the amount of yogurt that I need if I'm going to use my whole jar of oatmeal to make smoothies. Now, I have a question for you, and I want you to please solve it in your notebooks. It's a very similar question. Let's move the camera away from here for a second. Now, if I'm going to use 210 grams of oatmeal to make smoothies, how many apples do I need? And I know that now this is a question about smoothies and apples, but in fact this is very useful when, for example, let's say that you are going to make a slime business, yes? A slime selling business. You have to find the proportion of how many of one product do you need compared to another in order to buy without wasting. So these type of proportions, we use them all the time. This is one of the most applicable math concepts that we will have. A over B. And these numbers...
Conectarme a tu red Wi-Fi. Para volver a conectarse, abre la aplicación Google.